It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Tuesday, April 8th. Your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that can finally say the Lehigh Valley Phantoms are in the AHL playoffs.
Yep.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade. I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 19 years, Russ Cohen. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And to keep up with our episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on all your favorite socials. And of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are going to get into the week that was for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, talking Jett Luchanko, the debut of Alex Ciernik. They're in the playoffs. So much good stuff to discuss there. We are going to also dive into this Flyers 5-forward power play and how it's been operating. Just a quick bit of news, though, before we get to that. Ole Lixell was placed on waivers yesterday, assuming he clears, which I would think he would. They're going to probably just bring him back into the fold in Lehigh Valley just to get geared up for the aforementioned playoffs. And, you know, if they're not going to play him anymore with the Flyers, right thing to do.
Yep, it's the right thing.
So this 5-forward power play that the Flyers have been trying as of late has been a really interesting experiment because I think there's a lot going on here with the Flyers. First off, the Flyers power play has been atrocious, as we know, right? Third worst in the NHL this season by percentage. Only the Islanders and the Ducks are worse. They have 8 shorthanded goals against, which is tied with 4 other teams for the third worst in the NHL. Only the Bruins and Tampa Bay Lightning are worse on that front. They've allowed 12, so that's also pretty bad.
It is.
And I think when you look at that up against the fact that as far as time on ice on the power play per game, Flyers are 20th in the NHL. So, you know, not the worst, but 2/3 of the way down, essentially, in terms of opportunities and as far as time go. They're 23rd in number of power play opportunities they've had for the season. So they're kind of in the bottom tier of the league as far as how many power play chances they've gotten. So that's like fewer penalties drawn, but they're not doing anything with the ones they get is the upshot here.
Right. Yeah, like even someone like Travis Konecny used to draw a lot more penalties. He hasn't done that in a while. But yeah, when they get them, they generally squander them. And the big problem is the zone entries. It's like if they slingshot it, they're wasting somebody who could bring the puck up the ice. And if they have someone who could bring the puck up the ice, they don't know what to do once they get into the offensive zone. So it's kind of like, which way do you want to screw it up?
And that's kind of been the sticking point all season long, is that we're just all screaming from the rooftops, do something that makes sense on this power play. And they haven't really done that. And we've seen like Owen Tippett misused on the power play in particular. I mean, his shooting has not been good this season, but also he was misused on the power.
Yeah, I mean, they put him on the offside. Like, when's he going to score on the offside on a power play?
Exactly. So there's all sorts of stuff that's been going wrong with it. And so again, we've been shouting, and lots of people have been shouting from the rooftops, do something. So they decided to do something, and that was create this 5-forward power play. Now, just as a general rule, we know kind of the pros of it is you get a more dynamic power play. You get a little bit more creativity involved there, and I think a better puck movement, around the cycle as a general rule, not specific to the Flyers, but that's the pros. The downside is obviously there's a high chance of a defensive breakdown because you don't have somebody thinking defensively as much. And you have to put a forward at the point who may not be exactly comfortable in that spot.
Right. The holding the puck in is a big thing. And sometimes even just if someone's coming at you, holding off somebody physically is a thing. So you have to have somebody that still could do both of those, where defensemen are trained on that and forwards generally are not.
Correct. And I think that when you look at it, it's definitely high risk, potential for high reward when you have the right people executing it. And I think that when you look at what the Flyers have done with it, I think it's been a good idea to try it. But if you look at where we're at, it's been 5 games so far that they've attempted to use it. The first game was the Leafs game on March 25th. And so far, we have 2 goals in about 12 minutes or so of action with the unit that they have chosen. So that's
Right.
Travis Konecny, Sean Couturier, who's been net front, who I think is actually doing a good job
He's doing a
there.
good job. Yeah.
Yeah, Tyson Foerster, Matvei Michkov, and then Bobby Brink for the most part at the point. We did see in the most recent game against the Habs, obviously Tippett had to sub in for a little bit due to Michkov being banged up a little bit. There was also the end of game extra attacker situation. So that's a little bit different than a standard power play
Right.
there, right? But I think, 2 goals in 12 minutes on power play. Okay. I wouldn't say stellar, but I would say okay,
Yeah, it's just I don't like Brink at the point. If you're going to do that, I would put Konecny at the point. He's much better at holding the puck in. He is less prone to mistakes. Brink is more prone to trying something more creative, but also being more high risk. So making that 5-man unit even more high risk than usual.
Yeah, and I think the part about it where Sean Couturier is pretty much the net front guy there, I think that's a good thing because I said he's doing a good job at it. I do think he is, but also it limits a little bit of the creativity because if he's not moving around and they're not rotating somebody else there, I think that makes an easier job for the opponents to defend against it to some degree, right?
Yeah, you have to have the guys moving. We don't see enough of that. We see a lot of passing. We don't see a lot of people who want to shoot. Danny Briere played in this kind of situation, but I think Chris Drury may have been the guy at the point, and he was so good at that. I don't know if the Flyers have the right personnel. I think that's the problem here.
Yeah, I really think that. Now, could this group be the right personnel with continued practice and execution? Maybe. I am skeptical, but I
Yeah, I am
don't
too.
think it's an impossible thing. I think that Forster would have to get a little bit more active again with his shooting in order to make that happen. I think TK's shot would have to get a little bit better. And then I think again, they would just have to do more movement when they're set up. And they have to work on the getting set up part. As we've said, it's the once they're set up, they're pretty solid at it. It's just for this group getting set up has also been a struggle.
Yeah, I would say the big thing for me is like if you do it this way, then generally power play 2 has a defenseman on it, so Drysdale gets 20 seconds. But to be honest, I think Andre's a better passer than Drysdale anyhow. And so, is Drysdale a better passer than Brink? Yeah, 100% on the power play.
Right.
So I think you're missing out on that. And so that's why I would say if I did it, I would do it for 30 seconds. And then I would switch off at least the point guy. I wouldn't necessarily switch the whole unit, but I would switch off Brink and I'd take him out. If he's not doing it, then I'm putting in Andre for Brink or Drysdale, and then eventually that whole second unit. That's probably the way I would do it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think I'm okay with them continuing to do it, but in shorter bursts, I think. And again, if they're not getting set up quickly, it's got to go.
Right.
That's got to be the benchmark here. Is like if you don't get set up within the first 15 seconds of the power play, just jettison the strategy
I mean,
and
because
move
I'll say this: it's important to have a point shot that hits the net. Brink doesn't do that, and Andre and Drysdale can do that.
Right. And if you look at other teams that are running this power play setup and you look at the personnel they have, it's night and day
It
to
is.
what the Flyers have. So the Leafs have been using it with Mitch Marner at the point.
Yeah.
That's a huge upgrade there, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's
Nyes and
made for that.
Tavares are doing net front and bumper, and then you have Austin Matthews and William Nylander as your other two. I mean, come on.
Seems okay. That seems okay.
Yeah. And then the Wild have been trying it pretty recently, and they have Matt Boldy at the point.
Pretty good.
Again, pretty solid. They've got Freddie Gaudreau, Marco Rossi, Matt Zuccarello, and Marcus Johansson as the others on that unit.
Not as star-studded as the Leafs, but still some real good players.
But still really good. And again, with Matt Boldy, you know what you're getting, a much better presence.
And he is strong too, so no one's overpowering him.
Yeah, the Kings tried it earlier this season for a while and had Adrian Kempe at that point. Again, a really good choice to do that.
Yeah, much different. Like Brink, no offense, he's nowhere near these guys.
Right. And so that's just, I think, the difference here. But
and you can't put Michkov at the point because he's much better down low, and you can't put that kind of pressure on him. Even next year, you can't do that.
Yeah, and as a person who loves the 5-forward power play, I think it is true. You need the right personnel and you need the right circumstance, and these guys have to get better at getting set up. And I just don't think the Flyers are there yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah. All right. Well, to be continued. We'll see if they keep using it and see if it improves. Happy to be wrong if they eventually get it down.
Might look better with a different power play coach. Just saying.
Yep. We'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, the Phantoms are indeed in the playoffs. We're going to talk about them coming up next. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? And between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's sometimes easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. They are your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. And when I first started using it, I realized how much I was spending on takeout, and now I can budget smarter and save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, I can use Monarch to check everything all at once and then plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. On tomorrow's show, we are going to preview Flyers versus Rangers, and that will be the last game against the Rangers for the season up at Madison Square Garden. Plus, we'll be answering your mailbag questions, so get those in. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com, send us a message on any of our socials, or comment over on YouTube. The Lehigh Valley Phantoms had I would say, a really good week in terms of play. Just the results weren't there. They did clinch to the playoffs. However, it was because of opponents' actions. We just kind of sat around on Sunday, and because other teams lost, the Phantoms got in. But that's sometimes how it goes. And so right now they are in the 6th slot. I think they're going to stay there, which means that they would play Providence, who are in the 3 slot right now, which is not great for the Phantoms, but not impossible either.
Yeah, Providence is a good team, and everybody's gotten fortified at this time of the year with some of their, organization's best players. But, it's not impossible. So they can win that one.
Yeah, it is. It's really fascinating because I think this week for the Phantoms is pretty indicative of that, where they've gotten new blood on the team as well with Jett Luchanko, now Alex Ciernik. We've had Grabenkin and Giovanni Smith. Ty Murchison has joined the team. And I think that, it's not like some of these guys are like the greatest young talent ever, but it's still new blood. And
Yes.
it's still an infusion of a different energy, which is something that the Phantoms need. And the Phantoms have generally been playing very well. And that's what's frustrating about the results from this week, where they won their first game 4-1 against Bridgeport, who are literally the worst. So expected that, right? But then they have 2 losses, one against Hershey. Again, a game they could have won, but for just, I think, dumb luck in a lot of ways. They played structurally very sound. They played very well defensively. They had a lot of chances, just didn't go their way. Then the game against Springfield on Saturday was a 1-0 overtime loss. So literally no goals at all during regulation, an absolute goaltending duel. And
Okay, that
I think,
happens.
it just happens. And it's unfortunate because Springfield is the team, right above them in the standings. So this
Right.
makes it so they're in the 6th slot instead of
Right.
potentially that 5 slot for now. But again, I think in both games the Phantoms played very, very well. It was just one of those
Yeah.
times.
But I'll be honest, I'm still looking for more out of Luchanko as these games go on. He has
Yes.
not shown a lot yet.
Right. So that's kind of the next thing to talk about here is Jett Luchanko and then the debut of Alex Ciernik,
Right.
because Luchanko had an assist in the Wednesday game, but I would say his play was very, very similar to last week. I just didn't see much movement as far as improvement. It doesn't mean he played badly. It just means, he had some really great shifts that I
Mhm.
saw with some really excellent playmaking. And he tried to take a few shots that just didn't go, especially in that last game again, where nobody scored. So but he's still making mistakes in terms of coverage. He's
Right.
making mistakes about where to be on the ice. And I think that he's making, I would say a mixed bag of choices in terms of pass versus shoot. That's my general observation.
Yeah, and see, those are things where, like if he were to go to the next level, you can't be in between on pass versus shoot. Like you got to be very decisive.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, like, we'll see if that picks up at any point during this playoff run here.
Yeah. And, he did just play a full season of hockey, and
He
this
did,
is an
but he's young, so
extension to that.
I'm not giving him
I
an
know.
excuse. I'm not.
I know. That's the thing. It's like you can say that, but also he should be able to I think make a little bit more of an
Yeah,
impact.
he's got to make more
And
noise.
yeah, and I again don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's as good of a game as he is capable of.
Right.
And that's just what I want to see from him. A very cute part is that he's living with Alexis Gendron, who we're going to talk about. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Gendron in an interview called him a kid.
Yeah.
Gendron is 21.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
Like
funny.
it was very,
But
very cute.
I do notice that a lot of times prospects call other prospects kids. Like they're used to doing that,
Yeah.
going up through the thing, and they don't really stop.
Right. Right. It was very adorable.
Yeah,
But that being said, I think that's a really good thing
it
for
is.
the 2 of them to pair up, because Gendron is having such a phenomenal season.
Yeah, and he's a really good offensive player. You hope he can get
Yeah.
in his head, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing. Alex Ciernik made his debut on Saturday. They had just kind of been holding him back and just having him practice with the team, which I thought was a good thing. We mentioned
Right.
that
Yeah.
last week, just get him ramped up. And that's kind of the difference between a Luchanko level player and a Ciernik
Oh, yeah,
level
there's a huge
player.
difference, yeah.
Right. So Ciernik, you let practice and ramp up. Luchanko, you just got to put him straight in.
Right.
And that's how these things work. Now,
I mean,
Ciernik,
I'm not
I
even
thought,
sure Ciernik's gonna get regular playoff time. He probably won't.
I mean, we'll see, but I think he absolutely tried to keep it simple, in his play, but he was trying to bring his game into it when he
Mhm.
could, which is, I think that's the right
No,
approach
that's
to
what you have
take.
to do. You gotta play your game.
Yeah, so I thought he had some really good board battles, during the game. I thought, he was trying to play make. He had a couple really good scoring chances of his own in that game, especially in the second period. One really good net front opportunity that, again, everybody got goalied in that game. So,
Yeah.
it was tough, but I do think it was a really promising debut game for him.
Sure, and I think this is great experience for him, but if you ask me, I wouldn't be signing him yet. I'd send him back.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. This is a
Yeah.
good chance for him to get
Mhm.
exposure at this level, and
Because he just didn't
and
have a dominating enough season there to say that
right.
he's ready for this, and, so he's gonna have to really open some eyes in this.
Right, and but I think this is the kind of data we need
Yes.
and we scream about and
Oh,
say,
yeah,
"Give us the information." So this is the perfect thing for them to have
it
done
is.
with a player like him.
Especially now
Now
that they've clinched, play him all you want.
yeah, now Gendron, a goal on Wednesday, a goal on Friday. He's got 4 goals in 7 games. It's 4 goals in 8 games because, again, he didn't score on Saturday, but that goal on Friday was his 20th of the season.
Yeah,
And
he's picked it up.
he's only the 3rd Phantoms rookie to get 20 plus goals in a season. He's now tied with Jacob Gaucher for most goals by a Phantom this season. And I think that, we had said that we needed a little more from him about halfway through the season, and he sure has shown that. And I'm just thrilled with his development over this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think the reason that is the case as far as being the Phantoms record is because a lot of times these top prospects are coming in after a season's over or, with some
But
season.
I don't think they're counting those seasons as a
I don't
full
know.
season. We're
I don't
talking
know.
full seasons.
This is full season rookie? Okay. Well, that's a
Mhm.
little surprising then.
Yeah, and I think that, you look at his season last year where they sent him back to junior about a third of the way
Yeah.
through. He really, like, learned what he needed to. He came back this season,
Yeah.
had
No, that helps
steady
them.
progression, absolutely helped him, and I was a little wary of that decision, but I think now I can say it was the right thing to
Yeah,
do,
no, it was the
and
right decision.
yeah, and I'm just very, very pleased with him. So, we'll see what happens. I
Yeah.
think we'll see how he does in the playoffs. That'll
Mhm.
be a really good test. And then next year, he could be primed for a call up, and I think that's
Yeah, at
good.
some point they might look at him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really good. We have to talk about Parker Gahagen,
Mhm.
who just had a tremendous 2 games in net for the Phantoms. We're going to talk about that and special teams and the road ahead for the Phantoms coming up next.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday? How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored job posts put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. When you have a new project that requires just the right hire to pull it off, the pressure's on, and every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates now. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Flyers. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need.
All right. So Parker Gahagen in net, I think we've talked about him quite a bit recently as far
Yes.
as his better play, and he is 10-2-2 since December 28th. Just absolutely remarkable. He sat out and went down to Reading for a little bit in that
Hmm.
brief window when Alexei Kolosov was with the Phantoms, but
Yeah.
other than that, he's played quite a bit. He's now the guy as opposed to Cal Peterson, which is shown by the fact that this week he played 2 of the 3 games in that. And he absolutely was a huge factor in the game on Wednesday, 25 saves on 26 shots. And then on Saturday, just a really remarkable performance in net, 28 saves on 29 shots. And I think, he's made huge saves. We always talk about the goaltender needs to make that extra big save. He
Yeah.
makes the extra big saves. And you look at the overtime goal against Springfield that had made them lose that game. That was a defensive breakdown,
Okay.
100%. And I think that the Phantom skaters left it wide open as far as the shot opportunity, and there was very little that he could have done to stop it. And in fact, I was really mad at the skaters for moving too slow, including Jett Luchanko on that play.
Yeah.
So, I'm just so thrilled for him.
Yeah, I think this has been great. I mean, he's had a terrific season. We've talked about it. He's 31 years old. If I were the Flyers, I'd give him a 2-year AHL deal because I'd keep him in the organization because they've had so much change in their goaltending, and we don't know what's coming as far as what the other guys are going to do. He would at least be a constant, and I think that would be a step up from what they've had because they've had to play other guys because of contracts and other things. So I think that would really help.
Yeah, and you look at his overall season stats, he's 11-3-3-1, a 915 save percentage and a 2.38 goals against average. Even from rolling in the data from earlier in the season when maybe he was a little bit more hit or miss, those are still excellent numbers.
They are.
And is any goaltender in the Flyers system remotely close to 900? No. And so I agree. I think you give him a 2-year AHL deal and you utilize him when you can, because if they're clearly not willing to use Kolosov at the AHL level at this point, I mean, I would not use him in the playoffs now even because what are they doing here? This team is now learning how to skate in front of Parker Gahagen and what they need to do in front of him. Why would you mess with that going into the
I don't know if you
playoffs,
can.
right?
That's a good point. I don't think you can. I know fans are going to be like, well, put in Kolosov. We got to see what he can do. Well, you can't kind of screw the
You
team
can't
this way
now.
either. Yeah.
No, I just don't think you can in the playoffs.
They
I
may
just
still
think
go
it's
against what we
unfair.
say, but I'm with you on this.
Yeah, I just think that the right thing to do would have been to keep Kolosov in the AHL and let him
Right.
improve over
You
the
can't just let
10.
him walk in the front door and just run the playoffs. I mean,
No,
that's a tough look now.
it really is. And I just firmly believe that Gahagen has earned it at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah.
And I think he should play. And
It's
so
their best chance. I mean, Kolosov may be
yeah.
better in the long run, but Gahagen's playing better hockey right now.
Yeah, and as we've seen over these last few games, the games are starting to have that playoff feel to them at this point. And we see that in kind of the speed that they've had in terms of the uptick in playmaking. The shot totals are going up a little bit, and like people aren't taking penalties. You look at the game on Friday, there was literally only one penalty the entirety of that game between the two teams, or one power play. There was fights. Don't get me wrong, it's the AHL still, but there were all matching penalties.
Yeah.
In that game, there was only one true power play in that game, and there was only 3 true power plays in the Saturday game. And so like the totals are much, much lower than they were previously because people are buttoning up their games.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's what happens this time of year, and then guys are trying to show like we talked about Luchanko, so maybe next year they get a call up or they get a long look in camp. Like this is important times of the year.
Yep, it really is. And, Grebenkin had sat for a game because he was banged up, but he was back. Giovanni Smith was banged up. He's back in the lineup too. So I think they're getting dialed into what their ideal lineup could be going into the playoffs. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and for someone like Grebenkin, he has to prove it in the playoffs. I would not assume he's just an automatic NHLer next year. I would not assume that.
No, I would think that depending on his camp, maybe he'll show out at camp. I don't know what his offseason will look like, but I think he has opportunity there. But I would think he would start with the Phantoms and then be a call-up option, presuming he performs well. But I like his game. So I think the opportunity will be there for sure, as long as he sticks with his game.
Right.
So there's 2 games this week on Friday and Saturday night. They're at Syracuse on Friday, and then they host the Hershey Bears. There's 3 of their last 6 games are against Hershey, including the one that we just saw last Friday. So they're a tough opponent. Hershey's not as good as they. Hershey's not as good as they were last year, but they're still good.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's going to be tough, and that's also why I think the Phantoms are going to stick in that 6th slot for the playoffs here. But I think that it's just a really good time in Phantoms land. And I would not have said that halfway through the season.
No, we weren't sure where it was going.
Yeah, and I'm still questioning whether Lappy is the right coach to take them that next step forward.
Right.
But I do
That's what
think
we'll
just
find
from
out in these playoffs.
we'll find out from a personnel perspective, they are taking that step forward, and I think they've gotten a few guys in that are gonna contribute in the long run here, but we will see. It'll be real interesting. I'm
Oh, yeah.
genuinely excited, like I said last week, about this Phantoms team and what they could look like moving forward and how useful they could be for the Flyers as a development tool, and I have not said that until very recently.
True.
All right, that will do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. We will talk Flyers versus Rangers on tomorrow's show, as well as answer your mailbag questions. So let us know your Flyers thoughts or questions you have on any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology on the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night, until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.